the op tempo that we've got these days, I think that the collective knowledge that we're gaining, especially that lower level leadership, it's humbling.
Marine Forces Reserve active duty training this year here in Texas focused on distributed command and control as currently employed in the fight in Afghanistan.
We wanted to get back into a large-scale exercise and to simulate as best as possible while here in CONUS a distributed operation like you're going to see in Afghanistan, where the spaces are so large. You know, CAX used to be everybody's at 29 Palms, everybody's at Camp Wilson, everybody comes together and has a little meeting and then goes out into the Delta T and all that. And Afghanistan's not that. It's much, much bigger.
New Orleans-based Marine Forces Reserve headquarters brought units from locations across the country under an exercise expeditionary staff headquarters established here at the 14th Marine Regiment for the first time ever.
The op tempo that we've had with Afghanistan and Iraq, we've relied extremely heavily on the reserves, and they've been integrated. We've been integrated into with the active duty forces enough. You know, I also remember when I left active duty, I was active duty for over 10 years. You didn't look down on the reserves, but you assumed that they were probably okay, but not as good as the active duty guys. Untrue.
Javelin Thrust 2010 emphasized for these Fort Worth, Texas artillery, air, communications, and logistic Marines the conduct, coordination, and command of widely separated elements from the force headquarters level, bringing simulated air and artillery and real-world logistic support of ground combat elements using aviation assets and logistics Marines participating from as far away as Great Lakes, Illinois, Hawthorne, Nevada, and Bridgeport, California.
The concept of the old belief that we are here just for 1 day, 1 week out of the, 2 days out of the month and 2 weeks out of the year, that concept went out during Desert Shield. It is not unusual for us Operation Reservists to be on active duty of some type, be it AT, ADT, ADSW, active duty for special work, and so forth, anywhere from 2 months to 8 months to a year, sometimes longer, depending upon the needs of the Marine Corps or the Sea Service.
Simulated supporting massed fires and real-time helicopter raids, along with fixed-wing attack aircraft missions, were conducted in support of the riflemen of the 23rd Marines as they scaled the eastern slopes of California's Sierra Nevada mountains. Operations in Afghanistan and the Middle Eastern areas often require support from a comparable distance. Providing that support over the distances involved demands a higher level communication, control, and coordination as practiced during Javelin Thrust 2010. Training the way you fight and fighting the way you train is essential to success on the battlefield, but achieving that depends on all the elements working together in depth, and it extends well beyond the traditional tactical and strategic considerations. Today's Marine Reserve takes no back seat to establishing and maintaining the information flow requisite to these types of distributive operations. High mobility assets like these used by the Marines to get in and out of the fight in a hurry extend the range of operations, but do require an entirely new level of coordination over a much wider area. Distributive Operations Command and Control are therefore practiced in exercises like Javelin Thrust to familiarize the entire staff, from the senior commanders to the specialty desk watch standers.
Got some folks from Fort Sill, the active duty guys that are coming out to provide liaison cells down to the fire sport coordination elements that normally we would have, but we just don't have the bodies for. So the individual augmentees here and there, just in those key places to augment and to make sure that the exercise goes smoothly, and that ideally the Lance Corporal on the ground in Bridgeport has no idea, he doesn't know or care that we're running on a shoestring budget up here. So we need 40 augmentees, we only got 10. Ideally, if we do it right, that Lance Corporal down there never knows it. You know, all he knows is he sees a liaison cell for fire support. They're talking about targeting. You know, everything. Ignore that man behind the curtain type of a thing. It all executes smoothly, even if we have to jump through a few extra hoops.
Leadership is key to task organization effectiveness, and mentoring is essential in the Combat Operations Center in developing the characteristics and traits that have been the hallmark of Marines over the generations. No less so for Reserve Marines, who are said to be indistinguishable in combat from their active duty counterparts. But as we learned during Javelin Thrust 2010, there is significantly more to that comparison than the obvious kinetic aspects of the combat role.
We're required to update, just as an example, our civilian employment information every year. We update that in the system so that the Marine Corps, Mar 4 Res, Headquarters Marine Corps, whoever can tap or have a visual of those skills that we bring to the table in addition to our Marine Corps skills. I mean, your MOS tells you a lot. You're a SUPO, you're a commo, you're a wireman, you're whatever you are, a cook. We know that, and we know what that is. Obviously, somebody has seen the light and realizes that what we do out there also is available to us. And I mean, it's foolish of us not to take advantage of that. We don't forget what we know just because we put on a uniform. We know all of those things. We still have those skill sets. For us not to be able to utilize those and not take advantage of them would just be, I think, clearly a mistake, and it would be foolish. We bring a lot to the table. It's never ceased to amaze me the benefit I've had. Look, I was active duty for 7 years. I got out, joined the Marine, joined the Reserve. I wasn't sure it was going to work. It's very different in a lot of ways. But after a short period of time, I was very impressed by that very thing. The level of professionalism, the level of knowledge, the extra skills that my Marines brought. They still had the same enthusiasm, the same drive, the same dedication as my active duty Marines, but they had a lot of other stuff that they brought to the table. They could type. A lot of them knew a lot more about computers than I did when I was on active duty, because I didn't need to, or I didn't think I needed to. They have experienced leadership that they might not get. If I have a Lance Corporal and he runs a city, or a sergeant that runs a city, he's got a lot more leadership experience running that city than his counterpart does just as being a sergeant. I mean, a brand new sergeant, say a squad leader, that's his experience. City managers manage an entire city staff, and all of the assets, both logistical, personnel, economic, that go with that. He brings that experience, that knowledge base, to what he does for me. And it's transparent. I mean, he can't not permeate the military job. He can't turn it off. He can't segregate it. He can't forget that he knows that, nor would I want him to. It just naturally flows into us, and we all benefit from that. The nation benefits from it.
While Civil Affairs is responsible for coordinating the efforts of the civil and military authorities in restoring areas ravaged by combat operations, the duties often fall on those units in or just passing through. This is where the prior skill sets of some Reserve Marines make a critical difference to the effort. Winning the battles is only part of securing the peace for those who live in the areas immediately affected by combat operations. Building a lasting relationship of trust based on the desire for security often yields a tactical benefit.
I think CAG, I've never been in CAG, but it is my understanding that the CAG units, Civil Affairs groups, they're very top heavy, first of all. They're a very mature unit in that most people are older, higher ranking, but they're made up of lots and lots and lots of people who have varied civilian benefits, not just, they bring in a lot of lawyers, doctors, managers, engineers, not Marine engineers, not Marine lawyers, not Marine, the civilian lawyers that happen to be Marines with another MOS. And that's really the key, isn't it? You get two for the price of one. You get whatever this guy's MOS is. We've trained him to do something. In addition, he knows some other skill that we also get the benefit of. So it's like getting two guys in one. He gets training that the Marine Corps hasn't had to pay for, real world experience, and a tremendous amount of responsibility that he's brought to the table that we can't get anywhere else.
Clear, complete, and concise communications are further enhanced by the digital links used to coordinate and conduct the wide range of missions possible for these Marines. Ensuring the steady state of reliability of those communications is only part of the equation. Clear definition of purpose and the ability to lead from the front are demanded. But battlefield dominance in and of itself is no longer sufficient in winning wars. In this, the actual and exercise Marine Expeditionary Brigade headquarters is staffed to not just communicate and control, but also sift data for its practical and timely application of effective force.
So ideally we set the tone and we give them the tools and commander's guidance and answer any requests for information or anything like that, but we provide them the tools, and if we do that, then you set the scene to let the Marines, there should be no confusion. And from what I saw in Iraq, it works if they've got the information and the tools that they need. The Marine on the ground will do a superb job with it. It's up to us to get them those tools. While we're going to be doing some classes and some staff training and using this opportunity to exercise ourselves as a staff up here, and it may not look very sexy from Fort Worth. The Marines out there at Bridgeport are going to be doing lane training. They're going to be IED route clearing and role players and the full Monty. So we're going to be working up. It's just like, I keep saying FINEX, which is a CAC's term. They're going to be doing their lower level, mountain warfare type stuff, while we're getting smart on our portion. And when FINEX comes around, we'll have one day that's a tactical recovery of aircraft and personnel, TRAP. There's going to be one day that's a helo raid, one day is a humanitarian assistance, and one day I think is a mass casualty, as key events for this 4 days of FINEX. But leading up to there, it's not just a CPX. The Marines out there are doing, logisticians, real world scenario, they still supporting the force on the ground. So, fuel, water, etc. Real world or scenario is almost irrelevant to them because it's all real world to them. But the individual rifleman for 23rd Marines is going to be working his butt off, to be honest, out there. So
you hear that term family so often. RP2 can attest to that too. Family, but you don't really see it because sometimes families are very dysfunctional. And not to say that the Navy Marine Corps family doesn't have its aspects of dysfunctionalism. However, given what I have seen and experienced and know, and the things that I have been involved in, the ministry that I have helped create, develop, or been part of a developing process of ministry, it is a family. When I see Marines and former Marines talking to people and saying, what are you going to do when you retire? What are you going to do after you get out? Do you need a job? Do you need a reference? How are you going to write your resume? All of these things. I mean, you can spend the night. I know people who still call me and refer to me as their chaplain 15 years later, and they call me for serious advice. I'm thinking about getting married. I'm thinking about changing jobs. These are not $30,000 jobs. Nothing wrong with that, but I'm talking going from a $100,000, $200,000 job to maybe a $70,000 job because they want to serve in this capacity. And to do so means they're going to have a cut in salary. And they've discussed these serious decisions with me 15 years later, but they still refer to me as their chaplain. I know people who come through and we're affiliated and they come from North Carolina across the country, let me know they're coming. They have coffee with us, they'll spend the night in my home, and vice versa. I know people who sleep on folks' bed, their sofas, their floors, because they've had that affiliation. These things go on now. I've seen that, I've witnessed that, I've been involved in that. So yes, it is a family. When people are in the hospital, people just need somebody to talk to. You need to talk to so-and-so. Don needs to talk to Mary. Mary needs to talk to John. I mean, these situations go on in 2010. And so I'm a witness that this is, and not just in name and time only, but in reality.
Reserve, active duty, and inspector staff Marines, regardless of specialty or assignment, also benefit from a Department of Defense activity which works to smooth their way, serving their country while maintaining a civilian career. Invited civilian employers participating in Texas Phoenix and Fort Hood last year, 2009, offered an insight into the importance of the employer relationships and acknowledged the essential support that they provide our Texas Marines.
We're a Department of Defense organization, predominantly of volunteers, that work with employers to help them understand the vital need of some of their employees who serve in the Guard and Reserve, and how to help them when they start dealing with deployments and losses of personnel. So basically, we're trying to help the military side, the reserve components, and the employers become better acquainted, build support for our reservists among the employers community. And like today, we're out here showing some employers what the Marines are doing, particularly in the artillery, and give them a first-hand exposure to the quality of training and the proficiency of our service members today.
Asymmetrical warfare has asserted different realities on the practical and appropriate application of artillery in combat operations as a major supporting element of the Marine Air Ground Task Force. New employment techniques, digital communications, advanced precision weapons, and high-tech ordnance mixes go a long way to ensuring that our Texas Marine reservists return home victorious. But the other battle space, the one right here at home, is equally, if not more important, to our Marines.
Training is the same. I have been deployed with reserves, and it's no different than active duty. As a matter of fact, right now we are pretty much active duty. All our reservists are mobilizing. If you talk to the group of our corpsmen that are here, the majority of them have been mobilized twice, 2, 3, 4 times. And the training that they have is the same. One of the things that you can see, I'm in a different generation. I'm in the older generation in the military. And one of the things that I say, and I truthfully say, is that when I work with our corpsmen and I work with our Marine, our nation is in good hands. I can't say the same when I work with other people in other civilian communities, but I can tell you that I'm really proud of them. The care that they get, the care that our corpsmen and the medical that supports the Marines give is hard to none. And my civilian job is I work in a university and in a medical school, and the care that they get is as good as anyone. And I'm really proud of that too. But I'm mainly proud of these guys that wear the little Fleet Marine Force warfare badge. That means that they really know what they're doing, and they really mean to take good care of our Marines.
Just got off the phone. We have a crew that actually work downtown with Homeland Security and Department of Defense. They're coming in. They just got done teaching my guys a course in tactical combat medicine. They're bringing their mannequins and their moulage kit, and it's going to be pretty nice. It is a calling. It's an absolute calling. You could go work anywhere else in the military. You may put in less hours. You have less work. You're not put in harm's way, and you get probably even more money in some of the different re-enlistment bonuses. However, working with the Marines is probably the most rewarding job I've had. It's the absolute best job in the military. Absolutely love being a corpsman, love being a chief petty officer working with them. It is so completely fulfilling on the inside that I'm able to go ahead and be a mentor, a leader, and develop some of the best medical experts within the Department of Defense. And I know that for a shadow of a doubt. These guys are awesome. And I would love to go to combat with them. And I've been to combat, been with those guys, and working with Navy corpsmen. Wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, and these guys are amazing. This is not the same type of work that I do. I mean, I'm a surgical nurse, and it's a lot safer for me. These guys, I respect them greatly, and I think that they do an amazing job for our country.
Ahead.
Our reality is not always a pleasant one. Often, it's inappropriate to share in detail.
Hey, tell them to stand back! Stand back! Help me out!
Today's professional asymmetrical warrior requires almost as much as is demanded of them, tactically, technically, and logistically. But there's the price of freedom, established and supporting our military men and women moving forward to the sound of the guns that transcends time apart from family or friends, or the national treasure expended in the effort. In this regard, America's national security authorities are working diligently to ensure the soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines deployed in harm's way receive not only the quality of training essential to their mission, but the equipment that sustains the requisite combat advantage that serves to reduce overall casualties and ensure mission accomplishment. Less often, to be sure, than in past wars and conflicts, but as such, all the more significant today. It's also at the cost of a willing sacrifice. It's paid forward by those few who walk with us. Developing the skills that allow better than even odds is the price our attached Navy corpsmen know well. By continuously strengthening the command support for individual Navy and Marine family relationships, and positively affirming the broader Texas community appreciation for the ongoing mission on behalf of the nation, 14th Marines and the aviation combat elements of the 4th Marine Aircraft Wing here at Joint Reserve Base Fort Worth invest heavily in making that relationship a viable and enduring reality. Our Texas community plays no less a role before and after the call to saddle up.
I think we want to be tested. I don't think we all even know that. I'm not sure if it's consciously. But I think subconsciously and internally, at our core, we want to be tested. We want to go see how we're going to comport ourselves. And there's just no better way to do it. Once you're a Marine, it's kind of hard to get